Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions, and that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of even if we didn't have a deficit. Sure, some of these cuts aren't that big, but no amount of waste is acceptable. Not when it's your money. Not at a time when so many Americans are already cutting back. Just as families are living within their means, government should too. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble made up of forest rangers? They're called the Fiddlin' Foresters. I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website. And there are hundreds of similar sites that we should consolidate or just get rid of. By the way, you're not only paying for websites no one needs, you're paying for thousands of buildings all across the country no one uses. For the last decade, the government's owned a massive and completely empty warehouse in the middle of Brooklyn, for example. Now, the government hadn't been able to sell this building and others like it because of red tape and Washington politics that held things up for years. But we're finally cutting through all that and plan to get rid of these buildings in the months ahead. We need to step up our game. We need to go after every dime. We need to make government work for you. That's why, starting today, I've asked the Vice President to lead a renewed effort to hunt down misspent tax dollars in every agency and department of this government. We're calling it the Campaign to Cut Waste, and I know Joe's the right man to lead it, because nobody messes with Joe.
There's a new standard by which the government is going to function from this point on. The American people are entitled to transparency. Look, a lot of this depends on new, sophisticated methods, but it also, we know, depends on relentless focus on making this a priority. Focus that can't be delegated. We're holding ourselves accountable, and we're deeply committed and focused on making government function better. We're not just eliminating fraud and waste. We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue. We're going to give you the government you expect and deserve.
But then I changed in 2009, and I found Ron Paul.
So you voted for Barack Hussein Obama, Stephanie?
Sure did. I was quite a liberal child.
Welcome to the Wake Up America show, where we started off with a giant fail. Austin had no sound on. It's on now.
For the first 2 minutes and whatever, no one heard it.
This is why I never turn my computer off. This is what happens.
Can we replay that? It was really good.
Oh, they could hear that.
Oh, they could hear that.
Yeah, they just couldn't hear us.
Oh, yes. Well, I just want to say I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Did you all hear that? Maybe the microphone just didn't want to hear that, so it turned itself off.
This pisses me off. It's fun. We're going to have a wonderful day. Justin's going to be on the show today.
Hurrah. Hurrah. And it's my birthday weekend, so I guess we can kind of celebrate my birthday.
Right.
My birthday's tomorrow, March 15th. Thank you to all of you who have been wishing me a happy birthday all week long, starting on Monday. I know that Austin, somehow, in what you were saying earlier in the week, you were like, go tell her happy birthday on Twitter. And then everybody started saying happy birthday to me.
Well,
so thank you.
On your birthday, because tomorrow is your birthday,
Yes.
the 15th of March, the Ides of March, which is,
right.
It's a dangerous day. Don't turn your back on your friends.
Don't drop the soap in the shower.
Well, okay, yeah, there's that. I don't know if your friends are going to be doing anything in the shower, but what happened on March 15th that gave it such a bad reputation, Stephanie?
Julius Caesar?
Yes. What happened to Julius Caesar?
He died? I don't know.
Yeah, he died, Stephanie.
He did.
I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation before, and I think we have it every year on your birthday. Julius Caesar, Emperor of Rome, was murdered by his best friend, Brutus,
Yes.
on March 15th.
Okay.
And it was "Beware the Ides of March" was the saying, right? Because on that day, Caesar would be assassinated in the Senate by his enemies, and he was stabbed in the back. Famous. I mean, they stabbed him everywhere because it was a bunch of people stabbing him, senators. So they killed him, and so on March the 15th is supposed to be a day of betrayal. It's a day of the day when something bad could happen to you. So
Wow.
et tu, Brute, means "and you, Brutus."
Oh, I know that one. You've taught me that one.
Yeah, et tu, Brute, yes.
Yes.
So sometimes we have to, Stephanie and I, we have to watch some TV shows or movies every once in a while. I mean, very rarely, but I'll play some Shakespeare for her just so she can kind of get I won't say Shakespeare's pop culture, but I mean, you should know that to what to be or not to be is about, or something like that. Et tu, Brute, is it
I read Beowulf when I was in high school.
Sure, yes. And, and we're watching some Game of Thrones, so you can understand what it means to be Khaleesi or, Mother of Dragons.
That's right. And I think, too, March 15th is March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in basketball, I think it's a big weekend in basketball. It's also St. Patrick's Day weekend, so people are partying it up and everything. I found out recently, my whole life, I never knew that I was really Irish, but apparently I do have Irish in me.
Interesting. Do you have any Danish in you?
Well.
Would you like some?
Well.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Is that Pompey? Thank you to Justin Peterson, who's hanging out with us in the chat. That's Peters JJ77, my brother. He'll be on the show today. We've got a lot to talk about today. I've got a billion clips. We want to make sure that we see. Floby Tenderson says, "Isn't that Dragon Mother stuff for big girls and massive silicone toys online?" Yes, it is.
Wait, what? What is what?
So this is why I'm showing you the Game of Thrones, because first you have to watch the show, then you understand the culture. But fat chicks name their children Khaleesi.
Oh,
right?
I could see that.
Right, but
Khaleesi's a cool name.
It's not a name; it's a title. And so it kind of shows people's retardation in a way.
Oh.
Because Khaleesi is not her name. Her name is what?
Oh, she's really, oh my goodness.
You said it last night.
Well, oh my goodness. She's got this whole long title.
She's got the baby brain. It's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sick and
it's
I'm
the
just sleepy.
the baby was screaming bloody murder 30 minutes ago.
While I was trying to shower.
Stephanie walked into the studio at 6:59 as soon as she got the baby put away. So
Well, okay, wait a second. So she is Daenerys.
Daenerys.
Yes.
Daenerys.
Well, she says this whole spiel, this whole long thing. I'm Daenerys,
Mother of dragons, breaker
Drogo,
of chains,
whatever.
yes, wife of the call, blah, 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 right? All that shit, right? Good morning, Pineapples. Good morning, Jose Palacios, Drew Van Runkle, CEO Day, Fiery Waco. Quest Fanning already dropped $5 in the tip jar. We appreciate you guys.
They are all subscribers.
Man, they were roasting us hard earlier for the microphone thing. Good morning. We're glad to have everybody here. Let's see. So let's when we get Rumble rants like that, Stephanie, it makes me very excited because it reminds me of things that Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary have said. Things like this.
How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. And that's what I'm working for. How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security?
How about no tax on Rumble rants?
Yeah. Well, I made quite a stir yesterday.
Okay. Well,
because I said that it would disincentivize people if you were taxed at $150,000, because then you wouldn't want to start a business. You wouldn't want to get rich from the business, because then you'd have to pay lots of taxes. And I was like, that's stupid. And apparently a lot of people do not agree with me.
There's a lot, I was telling you, there's a lot of hate of wealthy people in this country. Mm-hmm. There always has been, and it used to be that it was more a feature of leftism, but as populism has become the rage in the Republican Party, and as we've kind of let the people wearing the shit kickers into the halls of power, with that does come an angst towards the rich men as much as there was on the left, right? And the left has in some ways morphed into like the party of wealth and power and centralization and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
like Bill Gates is on the left,
right.
Oprah's on the left,
right?
All of these powerful people, business owners, they're on the left, but they're being taxed like crazy, and they don't seem to care. They're like, tax me, baby.
Yes. So there are pros and cons. There's the question of, let's just break it down and let me finish setting up the rest of the show so people know what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be discussing the proposal by the Treasury Secretary Howard Lutnick there for taxes. We're going to be talking about Generation Xanax, this article in the Wall Street Journal. People talking about how dangerous and addictive these pills can be. And a woman refused to give up her seat for a family on a plane, which caused a stir. And then the question of male pattern baldness, which led some men to seek out Propecia and Rogaine. Was there a cost to that? And so we're going to talk about drugs today a little bit. I know that makes Drew Van Runkle happy.
Does he do drugs? Do you do drugs, Drew?
I think he's high as balls.
We should do a drug test on our audience members every morning.
I think they'd fail. So we're going to talk about that. All of these this morning. Justin Peterson joins us at 8. It's going to be a great show. So buckle up. Stick around. The microphones will be live. As we break it down, let's talk about the proposals. So the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has outlined a proposal to eliminate federal income taxes for individuals earning less than $150,000 annually. Lutnick described this as Trump's goal to simplify the code and reduce burdens on middle and lower income Americans. So according to the U.S. Census Bureau data from 2022, approximately 93% of Americans aged 15 and over earned less than $150,000 a year. So 93% of people would no longer pay federal taxes. Now they'd pay remember, we're talking about income taxes here, so they still have other taxes to pay, of course.
Right.
So the vast majority of taxpayers would be exempt from a federal income tax.
Right. So only the elite, the top people, they would have to pay taxes.
Well, yeah, to the extent, right? Drew Van Runkle gave us some of his old beer money.
Aww.
Talking about alcohol's a drug. So Lutnick suggested balancing the loss of tax revenue through measures like tackling overseas tax fraud and introducing the $5 million gold card visa program for wealthy immigrants, which he claimed could raise trillions annually. So $5 million to buy citizenship.
Oh, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then tackling overseas tax fraud. So, I mean, I'm not sure how much fraud there is in terms of like tax fraud going overseas, but unless you're talking about like money laundering or something like that. The problem with that is that they'll never go after that because that would indict too many politicians.
Oops. Yeah, there's a lot of people with offshore money.
You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Yeah, and who can blame them for trying to get their money out of the United States with the way that the IRS is? And Fiery Waco gave us $5 of his own weed money.
Aw, everyone's giving us their drug money. That's so kind.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate that.
We will put it to good use.
That's right. We give it to the baby.
That's right.
So the proposal aligns with Trump's broader fiscal plans, including abolishing the IRS. Oh my God. They can't even pass a bill to cut spending. I mean, I love the proposals. Don't get me wrong. I love that the administration is talking about this, but
they're
it's
just
like
too far-fetched here.
And they're all ripping. They're all angry at Thomas Massie for trying to actually do this stuff. They're
like, Thomas, step aside. Let us do it.
Yeah, let us do it. Even though, like, we say that we say it's gonna happen. You know, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, Trump is no longer in office. Then we'll do it. Then we'll cut spending, right?
Yeah.
So Lutnick,
Maybe they just want the credit for it. They don't want Thomas to actually win after all these years of advocating for this.
well, they hate him. They hate him because he doesn't bend the knee. Which he's the king of the North. King of the North.
That's right. He's Jon Snow.
He's a wildling.
Yes.
He doesn't
Samwell.
bow. He's Samwell Tarly. He's the watcher on the wall. The tax elimination, though, this is what Lutnick clarified this earlier or later on that. He says that the tax elimination is, quote, aspirational.
Aspirational.
No shit.
Isn't that what libertarians are? We're just aspirational creatures, and
We
now
are.
the conservatives have turned into the same.
Tesla. People are talking about that ad still today. Tesla.
It is
That's a funny ad. So here's the thing. So the tax cut is aspirational and contingent on balancing the federal budget first.
Okay, it's going to be a while. So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here.
Tesla.
We're getting upset a little too prematurely.
Okay, so it's not immediate. Depends on fiscal reforms like spending cuts or tariff revenue. Okay, so pros and cons. Reduces coercive taxation, right? Remember when somebody said, well, 50% of the people, to Ron Paul, 50% of the people who in this country don't pay income taxes. And Ron Paul was like, we're halfway there.
Right. He's like, well, good. And the Fed.
He's like, we're halfway there.
Now, I don't know if you can clarify this for me, but I think part of the debate is if you do make $150,000 or more, how much would you be taxed? And so people are saying that it starts at $150,000. So meaning if you made like $151,000, you'd only be taxed on $1,000 of that income.
Right. So
Because it's just over the 150,000 threshold. So they forgive anything under 150,000 and just start taxing you after that.
as if like, if you make 151,000.
Right.
Then
They're only
you're
taxing
taxed on 1,000, right?
Right.
'cause
So
you're-
that's what people are saying.
Well, because your concern is what's called a tax cliff. That there would be this steep drop off, and I did some research on this morning. Now remember, Lutnick and these guys, they haven't really outlined the details of the proposal or how it would work, right? Because again, remember, it's aspirational.
They
Right?
just like to freak people out and make them angry without actually knowing all of the information.
Well, they'd love to talk about shit that they won't do, and then they love to rip on Thomas Massey for trying to do it. A tax cliff occurs when earning slightly more pushes someone into a drastically higher tax bracket or eliminates a benefit entirely, creating a disincentive to earn more.
Well,
Now, wait.
aren't I a genius?
Now, wait, here's the thing. But in contrast to that, a progressive tax system like the current U.S. federal income tax taxes only the income above a threshold at higher rates. That would avoid the true cliff. So we would still have a progressive tax. So if Lutnick's proposal means that the first 150K is tax exempt and income above that is taxed, then if you earn 175, then you would pay taxes only on the $25,000 excess.
But still,
Right.
You still would be like, I have to pay taxes. I still don't want to make that much money.
Well, for example, someone like some people like us might do is we might just say, okay, like a client, wait to pay us if it's December. Wait, don't write me that check until January or something like that.
Right.
So if I didn't want to go over it. So
There'd be workarounds, loopholes.
Right.
People would be trying to figure it out.
Right. So, if it's a progressive system, then it's not really a tax cliff, right? But it would, depending on how they manage it, right? If it's marginal, taxing only the excess, then it's not a cliff. But it still introduces a marginal tax rate that could deter mildly, but it would still deter productivity.
Of course.
So for someone earning 150K, the next dollar earned is tax-free under the current system. But under this proposal, that dollar might immediately face a higher rate, creating, say, like 20%, creating a notch effect. Libertarians like Ludwig von Mises and Human Action argue that any tax on additional earnings distorts labor and investment incentives, even if gradual.
Yes.
However, with only $25,000 taxed on 175K, the effect is minimal, perhaps too small to significantly alter behavior for most.
And here's the thing, though. People are just forgetting about their principles. They're like, see, it's not that bad. They're not taxed that much. But remember the principle here.
Yes.
Taxation is theft, no
Thank
matter
you.
how much you make.
Thank you for the reminder, Stephanie.
So it's like, are we just saying, oh, rich people, it's okay that we just rob them. That's okay. They deserve it.
Most people feel that way.
Right.
Most people do. That is the majority of people in this country.
And
I don't
that
care.
shows envy.
Yeah.
Envy is the root of all evil.
Yeah, I don't care about the letter after your name. At the end of the day, everything is about like the politics of envy, right? Like
Absolutely.
this country has been socialist since 1913. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Exactly. So what are your thoughts on this one? You can send us a text. You can text the show anytime you like. 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. I prefer the flat tax because everybody pays the same tax rate across the board. The reason why progressives hate that and some conservatives is because they say that it is a regressive tax versus the progressive tax. Right, so the tax rates go up as you go higher in the progressive system, but the regressive system is with the flat rate. You pay as poorer people. You know, we pay a higher percentage of our income into things like the essentials, like fruits and vegetables and our mortgages and all that stuff. Whereas the rich have all of this disposable income. Right. So if they're paying a flat rate, then it's going to be more money overall. But poor people paying the same rate as rich people, a higher percentage of their budget is things that they absolutely have to have versus
so a flat rate
their
would...
sixth or seventh. There are downsides to everything. So you have to acknowledge them. If you're going to have a serious conversation about any tax proposal, and you should, remember that taxation is theft. And yes, you should remember the principle of the thing, because what are we really talking about here? We're talking about, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner here. That's, democracy. But you have to acknowledge that there are pros and cons to almost any approach. That's why I always love talking about the way that the founding fathers raised money, which was the lottery system. I really love that. Yeah. I wish we could just go to a lottery system where it was just a voluntary tax. Lotteries, of course, are taxes on people who are bad at math. So you just go and you pay your lottery tax when you buy your lotto ticket, and then use the billions and billions of dollars that they get from lotteries.
Don't they do that already?
Yes, they do to an extent, but you could nationalize a lottery. Yeah. You could have national lotteries, and that would be the federal budget, right? You could have your state lotteries, and then you could have your federal lotteries, and the federal lotteries would be huge, right? But it obviously wouldn't be the $2 to $3.5 trillion that they're spending a year. But of course, the government would be smaller, right? Yeah.
That's right. Javier Milei did something like that, where he had people, he auctioned off being untaxed for the rest of your life, where the person that paid the most got to never be taxed again.
Exactly. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. So for rich people, I'm sure people would want to take a stab at that.
It would help all of us. I mean, it's kind of like Trump's $5 million gold card situation, where he's talking about making it so that rich people can buy a green card or a working card, a gold card, he calls it, to come to the United States. So $5 million per person to immigrate here. Everybody else has to get in line or, wait to try and be accommodated. But that would be a lot of money. $5 million for each person.
I wonder how many immigrants really have that amount of money.
Well, it's not the immigrants. It's Apple. Right, it's Elon Musk. Right, it's those guys. They need the labor, and if they feel like they can get more than $5 million out of value of someone.
Oh, so like a sponsor could pay $5 million to bring someone over.
Right,
I see.
And Trump has said that the people who would come would still be vetted. It wouldn't be just a free for all where Saudi oil barons can bring their entire family in, at $5 million a piece. There'd still be security protocols for national security and things like that. But these are what they're proposed. This is the aspirational economics that we're hearing out of the White House. It's not all bad. It's not all bad ideas.
I think that's
good.
possible.
Yeah.
It's all about what somebody's willing to pay for. And I think people are desperate enough to pay money to come here.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think? Let's hear your thoughts. Send them in, 573-319-1586. People are saying, time for my conference call. Hope I don't miss the drug discussion. Oh, it's getting ready to come up. You better come back. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. There is wrong, and it's something inside me. Boom, 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 boom. Baby, come back. Head to the For Liberty shop. Check out our Gulf of America Shark Beach Towel. People love this thing, man. They
have been buying a lot of these. A lot of these.
Speaking of male pattern baldness, there it is right there. We're going to talk about Propecia this morning, finasteride and Rogaine. But before we do, guys, check out the For Liberty shop. Help support the Wake Up America show and the For Liberty network over here. Somebody bought one this morning. Did you see that we got that sale?
Oh, I didn't. I was scrambling a little too much. Yeah. But I do want to say also, speaking of forlibertyshop.com, if you want to come to Washington, D.C. with us, the buy one, get one half off ticket is going away tomorrow at midnight. So if you want to get tickets and you want to bring a friend, then you probably need to get them today or tomorrow.
Get them, forlibertyshop.com. It's right there on the front page. We're getting everything situated.
We already booked our own flight.
Yeah, we're ready
this week. So we already have our travel plans. We're definitely going to be there.
Of course. We're very excited. We're looking forward to seeing many of you in person. And we can't wait to meet many of you and hang out. We're going to have a good old Washington, D.C. time. Then after that, Argentina.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with a travel agent on some other trips.
Help support the Wake Up America show this morning. Go to forlibertyshop.com. It's not just about supporting the show. Our products are amazing, but don't take my word for it. Visit the review page. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you might see up here in the menu, it says reviews. And when you head over here, are they all 5-star reviews? No, but they are 4.79 out of 5. That means out of 297 reviews, the vast majority of people who go to our shop say 5 stars.
That's right.
Great products. Again, not everybody loves it.
And our customer service is spot on. Mm-hmm. I tell you, if you have a problem with your order, a delay with your order, we will make it right.
We will.
Because some of these 1-star reviews, the people prematurely write a review before they've actually contacted us, before we've actually helped them with their problem.
Yes.
And so some of these things, they're not even really valid because we did help them. We did refund them. We fixed whatever it was.
Yep.
So.
Gulf of America, this shirt is hilarious. It's a good way to get under the skin of a liberal, says Brad. Also, people are loving the stickers, the Liberty Bell monogram. Our friend Greg gave us 3 out of 5. At least he didn't give us 1 out of 5 this time. He loves to give us very harsh reviews.
Yes.
He says that our tea, it's a nice English breakfast blend, and it certainly seems to be just as high quality as any of my usual blends, but the price is really high for what it is. That's true. He says it's nice giving your money to people who don't hate you. Correct, we don't hate you. But it will cost you 2 to 3 times more. Completely understandable. And I mean, it's a totally understandable review.
Well, that's valid. And we've got our coffee too over here. And sure, it may be more expensive than the Dunkin' Donuts stuff or
it's actually
Folgers that you're going to get at the store.
It's actually, if you want the bargain bin stuff, if you want like the Folgers or whatever, then you're probably not our customer.
Right.
We found an ultra premium brand, and here's the thing: when you go to our competitors who make ultra premium coffee, if you go to their website and you buy their coffee, it'll say, "Oh, here's the price," and then by the time you put it in the cart, it's actually a little bit more than our coffee.
Yeah, it's very tricky. Shipping costs really throw people off.
They do, and the thing too about our coffee is that it's for people who really love coffee. It's for people, if you're the type of person who's like, I like to make my coffee in a certain way, and most people, if you've never really tasted great coffee, you might not know. That's how I was for years, because when I was poor, I was just drinking whatever crap I could get a hold on, right? And every once in a while I might get a Starbucks coffee if I was lucky, but even then I didn't really like Starbucks very much. I don't like Starbucks. Sure, I like some of the other name brand coffees that might be cheaper, but not as much as these. These are delicious.
Yeah.
And yes, it matters to spend your money where people don't hate you. Because if you go to Starbucks, for example, our prices are comparable to Starbucks when you talk about like shipping.
Right. If you're willing to pay like $5 to $7 for a cup of coffee.
Yes. Then there's nothing wrong with paying what you have to pay to buy a box of fountain flavors. And talking about people hating you, like literally Starbucks coffee, they take their money and they pay for their employees to go get abortions.
Right.
So, I mean, is it really that much more to spend to go shop from forlibertyshop.com? Looks like somebody just decided to do so right now.
Aw.
They bought the Gulf of America pirate flag beach towel.
Nice.
And the Gulf of America shark handle. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Smells just like the ocean.
Smells like freedom. So there you go. Visit forlibertyshop.com. We do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you don't like the coffee, I promise you, you will like it. But if you don't like it, then just send it back and we'll buy it back to you guys. There you go. So see, there's Greg Thacker with his mean reviews. he contacted us and was like, I want to write some reviews. We're like, right. They're not
libertarians.
all 5 stars.
Sometimes they're very interesting people.
They're very hard to please. They're very hard to please.
Sometimes they're just like socially not, they just don't get it.
Yeah, they'll go out of their way to screw you over. It's like,
even though they think they're doing you a favor,
yes, they think
they're still
helping
hurting you.
Yeah, you're a small family business. You're trying to get on your feet. You're competing with like the biggest people in the world. Like you're literally competing with like Amazon and all this kind of stuff. And like people will contact us and be like, "Thanks for the logo." They're like, "Your product, it's too expensive. Thanks for the logo." And it's like they're stealing your logo. And it's like,
right,
bro, you could just go make. It's not that hard. Like. You couldn't just go put a Doge logo on a hoodie or something. You had to like contact us and tell us our products are too expensive, and then you're going to just take our logo and put it on something yourself to buy. Why would you do that? Like, just go make your own. Like, why? And why would you contact us to tell us? It's like we're selling Xanax or something. Like they need it. Like they're addicted to it. You need Doge merchandise that bad that you have to come to.
It's almost like they want to get in trouble.
No, it's just that they're stupid and mean.
Yeah.
And nasty. This is why, this is why a lot of times like influencers, like political influencers, they will end up gravitating towards like the mainstream. They'll end up just kind of like, oh, the tariffs are not bad. And like, it's just a little tax here and there. You'll see them start to compromise.
It's hard to deal with the hate.
It's hard to deal with the hate. It's, we're vulnerable. People come in and they say, oh, well, I'm never going to buy your products. And people, they go out there, they write terrible reviews. People can try, and people, they love to hurt people. I don't know why. Hurt people. And that's why they
really do.
And that's why they need Xanax.
And therapy.
And therapy. Let's talk about Xanax and therapy.
I do believe medication and therapy go pretty well together because medication usually takes the edge off. It makes it a lot easier for you to focus on actually doing healthy things.
Well, this is a new article in the Wall Street Journal. It came out today. Front page. Xanax and similar benzodiazepines like Klonopin, Ativan, and Valium are commonly prescribed for anxiety and insomnia, but long-term use is causing serious, often overlooked issues. Over 86 million, Jesus, this is a country of 333 million people. Over 86 million prescriptions for benzodiazepines were written in the U.S. last year alone. Maybe that's why everybody's so mean online. They're all on drugs.
They are.
Physical dependence. Regular use, even as prescribed, can lead to severe dependency, making it extremely difficult to stop taking the drug. Patients attempting to quit can experience intense anxiety, memory loss, physical pain, and neurological symptoms known as brain zaps, electric shock sensations, and severe agitation known as akathisia.
Oh, I don't even know what in the world that is.
Well, look
akathisia.
It up. Yeah. Maybe I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. akathisia. Akathisia.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Okay,
That's interesting.
I'll look it up. Experts have named a protracted withdrawal condition, benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction. Think about all the school shooters who have been on this stuff. Characterized by long-term, sometimes permanent cognitive and neurological damage. Permanent.
I have the definition of akathisia.
Akathisia? Go ahead.
You say it.
Yeah.
It's a combination of subjective feelings of restlessness, agitation, and a compelling need to move, rock, or pace.
Whoa, really?
So, yeah, you feel restless inside. an intense feeling of agitation, non-productive, often uncontrollable movements, including rocking, pacing, shifting weight. Movements do not give relief. Suicidal, homicidal ideation.
Yeah, it's like, did you ever see that video of Adolf Hitler where he was like rocking while he was watching the Olympics?
I think so.
And he's like going like this.
But wasn't that because he was on meth?
He was on meth, yes.
Yeah, so I guess some drugs make that happen because it makes you hyper.
Adjacent, aren't they? I mean, some contain meth or not? Benzodiazepines?
I don't know all the science behind it. Psychiatrists are experts on all of the drug kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But you can tell when somebody's like tweaking because they'll do things like they're grinding their going like
right.
this.
You're really good at telling if someone's on drugs. Like sometimes we'll be watching something and you'll be like, they're high right now. And I'll be like, how do you know?
Yeah, because they're like this. They'll be doing stuff like this, and then they're like grinding their teeth.
Right.
They're going stuff like this. I mean,
or you said like with their nose, if they're doing cocaine, they're like they keep sniffing in their nose.
They'll go like this, like that, like a lot of times. And maybe they'll take frequent.
You see a lot of celebrities when they're being interviewed. They certainly look to be on drugs. At least that's what you've helped me realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like usually it's very pronounced. Yeah. So like if you're driving down in a downtown area or through a ghetto or something, you'll see like a tweaker and they'll be like, it's the most, that's like the most advanced. But people who are just like in the early phases of drug addiction will do things like, like grinding their jaws and, sniffing and snorting and just acting kind of fool, blurting out things, so.
Right.
So doctors and patients often underestimate how severe and long-lasting withdrawal can be from benzos, they call them, with some symptoms lasting months or even years. Patients like Dana Baer, who was featured in this article, initially prescribed Xanax for mild insomnia, developed debilitating symptoms after prolonged use. Baer suffered memory loss, severe panic attacks, and debilitating physical symptoms, brain zaps, during withdrawal. Holy shit. Many patients struggle financially, medically, and emotionally when trying to quit benzos.
Yeah.
One patient spent over $100,000 in treatment to recover fully. Jeez.
Yeah, usually they come to therapy and they're like, help me. I'm trying to not take medicine anymore, but I'm really struggling. And a lot of times they end up back on medicine of some sort because they just can't handle life without it.
Doctors often prescribe benzos long-term, despite guidelines recommending no more than 4 weeks of use. Many physicians lack sufficient training to manage withdrawal, leading to prolonged suffering and misdiagnoses. In 2020, after a spike in adverse effects, the FDA mandated warnings about benzos' risks of abuse, dependence, and withdrawal. So experts introduced a new term, benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction, or a BIND, to describe severe, long-lasting withdrawal symptoms. A recommended safe tapering method involves gradually reducing dosages every few weeks, carefully monitoring symptoms. So, scary stuff, man. And 83 million people are on these drugs.
Oh, yeah.
This is a problem, man. This is a big problem.
Yeah, I've worked with some people who have been on Xanax. I mean, there's so many drugs that people are on nowadays, so I can't even keep track of all of them. But there's like Adderalls, for example, for like ADHD. That is addictive in its own way. That has its own issues. But when you get off any medicine, do not just cut it off cold turkey. That is bad news bears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if that happens, then you're going to have severe withdrawal symptoms. And some people, even in therapy, they'll come to me and be like, I forgot to take my medicine for a few days and I'm feeling really bad. And so then they have to go through basically withdrawals until they can get their medication filled all over again. So even stopping it for a few days is going to mess you up.
83 million. I mean, you know what it reminds me of is this back and forth this is like 15, almost 20 years ago. Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer were involved in a verbal altercation discussing some of these drugs. Take a listen to this.
Here we are today, where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay, against their will, of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is
No,
this was
no,
not
Matt,
against
Matt,
her
I'm
will,
ask-
though.
Matt, I'm
But
ask-
this wasn't
Matt, I'm
against
asking you a
Brooke's will.
question. Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand there's
No.
abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does. That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer, that these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that so that we don't end up in a brave new world.
Yes, there are abuses. And yes, maybe they've gone too far in certain areas. Maybe there are too many kids on Ritalin. Maybe electric shock
Too many kids on Ritalin. Matt,
I'm just saying. But aren't there
Matt,
examples where it works?
Matt, you don't even, you're glib. You don't even know what Ritalin is. If you start talking about chemical imbalance, you have to evaluate and read the research papers on how they came up with these theories, Matt. Okay? That's what I've done. And you go and you say, where's the medical test? Where's the blood test that says how much Ritalin you're supposed to get?
It's very impressive to listen to you because clearly you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm
really...
not prescribing Ritalin, Tom, and I'm not asking anyone else to do
well,
it. I'm
you are.
simply
You're saying no.
I know some people who seem to have been helped by it.
But you're saying, but it's like this is a very important issue. This is
couldn't
a very,
agree more.
and you know what? And you're here on the Today Show,
right?
And to talk about it in a way of saying, well, isn't it okay, and being reasonable about it when you don't know, and I do. I think that you should be a little bit more responsible in knowing what it is.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, so
Yes.
I don't think they believe in any medications at all or
I don't
any
know that that's
psychiatry
true.
therapy.
I'm not sure that that's
Okay.
true, but it's the psychiatric drugs I think that the
Okay.
Scientologists really have a problem
Yeah.
with. And I mean, you're a therapist, so I mean, you deal with a lot of people who are using these drugs.
Yeah, nearly all of my patients have been on drugs in the past or they are on drugs currently. And in terms of the chemical imbalance, I don't know. I know most people that are on medications, their brains are probably not chemically imbalanced, but I think there are some people that truly, if you do like brain scans and tests and things, I think that they may have chemical imbalance. I would have to research that more, but I think there is such a thing as a chemical imbalance,
Right.
from what I've heard before.
Yeah, I'm not getting my medical advice from Scientologists.
Right.
It's fascinating, though, that I remember, I didn't know a whole lot about Scientologists until a few of them became big supporters of my presidential campaign.
Oh.
And the reason why I found out why was a few of them started like kind of shadowing me in Florida. And when I say shadowing, it wasn't like the bad kind, although it could be, if maybe I said the wrong thing. But I mean, they came out to events, shook my hands. Some of them like started donating money to my campaign, and I was just kind of like, I remember sitting down one night, and this very pleasant older lady, and I was just kind of like, I'm not religious, and I go, and I'm very skeptical of religion and of churches, and especially a church like Scientology. Why would you, I'm just curious of you, why would you support my campaign? And she's like, well, it's because we heard you talking on a video about your concern about giving drugs to children.
I thought she was going to say it's because you believe in liberty for everybody and you don't care what they practice.
That was part of it. That was part of it. It absolutely was because of my stance on freedom of religion. But that was secondary. The Church of Scientology is deeply, deeply concerned about the psychotropic drugs, or the psychoactive drugs that we're giving to children, and it's deeply against it. And I've spoken out against it too. I think it's a problem. I think it's a huge problem. 83 million people, and I know we're talking about different drugs here. There's benzos, and then there's like Ritalin, and
there's antidepressants,
there's antidepressants,
and then there's medications. Like one of the new ones is called Vyvanse, and that's used for ADHD and also for impulsive eating problems. And and there's usually not that much research behind these drugs before they actually start prescribing them. So
how do they get the FDA clearance if there's not much research on them?
Well, something like Vyvanse, for example, it's not cleared by FDA specifically for eating disorders, but somehow it's still being prescribed. I don't know how it all works. I really don't know how the doctors are allowed to do what they do. And then drugs too, you start to need higher and higher doses because you get a tolerance to certain drugs. I know Vyvanse in particular. I'm more familiar with that one. But it's like after a while, it's going to start to not have an effect. I hear my clients say a lot, I got to go talk to my doctor about upping my dose. When you hear someone say, I need to up my dose, it's that their dose that they're on now has become ineffective, just like heroin, just like cocaine, right? You need more to keep feeling that effectiveness. So it's just like alcohol, just like whatever, where you have to keep doing more to feel that high, that effect.
Do you think that there's an overprescription of drugs, as a therapist?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Because Tom Cruise is right when he says it doesn't usually fix the root cause of the issue. Sure, like if you truly have some sort of, lab issue where you do have some chemical imbalance and, things are off in your body. Okay, sure, maybe medication's the only way to actually give you what you need in your system. But I'd say most people, they don't have an imbalance. They just don't know how to live in a healthy way because they've never been taught. So what I always recommend to my clients who are a little bit scared to take medication, as I say, give it about 1 or 2 months of therapy. Learn coping skills with me. We can also process your past and all the things that have happened, and you'll understand it and you'll start to heal from it. And after 1 or 2 months, if you're still feeling like you can't handle your everyday life, then go talk to a psychiatrist. That's usually what I recommend to them, because I really think you have to get to the root cause of the issue first before you try other options.
Isn't this a perfect topic for Steffi Day?
Oh, yeah, and I can actually speak to it myself. I've always been an anxious person, and I remember when I was around like 18, 19 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to my primary care doctor. I'm going to just say, here, give me some medicine for anxiety. Because I was like, okay, that'll just help me. That'll just help me feel a little bit better. So I got the prescription. I think I might have taken 1 pill, and I believe it was Xanax. And I think I took 1 pill, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to go sign up for a therapist. And I did. When I was in college, I signed up for therapy. And that is what helped me. And I am medication-free, never taken any medication for anxiety. And I can tell you, I was an anxious person my whole life. And now, because I'm in a healthy environment surrounded by positive individuals, and I have good coping skills, and I'm doing what I want, that is why I'm doing so well. I don't need medication.
There we go. You don't need no medication.
The thing is, most people just don't want to consistently do coping skills. They just want the easy way out.
Correct.
They say, no, just give me a drug. I don't want to work hard. I don't want to practice these things.
Just ban the seed oils, and then I can go to Steak and Shake and eat my burger, and I won't get fat.
Exactly. But you know what? Most anything that is good for you is going to be challenging.
It's going to hurt.
It is. But once you learn these things and once you do the hard work, oh my gosh, you're going to be coasting. It's going to feel great.
Remember when we first started karate and like you would cry when like I would hit you with like the soft foam pad?
Yes.
And now you're just like bop, 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 bop. Yeah.
Absolutely. I had to get through that initial, my body had to get used to those hits and that pain because I wasn't used to that type of impact. But now it's like, it's easy.
Hey, leave them kids alone.
Is the chat saying anything interesting about drugs?
They got a lot of interesting things. They're all like drug
I would
the
say
world.
most of you all in the chat are probably on a medication or
Probably,
two.
yeah. Cecilia says, I just went to the doc this week. Intake form has me answer whether or not I'm depressed.
Yes.
I don't answer it because I always have ups and downs, and I found ways to work through the downs. That's smart. That's smart, Cecilia. I wouldn't tell people, I would never write on a form that I was depressed. I would never write something like that
Because
down.
once you've been hospitalized, if somebody really sends you to a hospital involuntarily, that's going to screw you up in terms of getting weapons. If you ever want to buy a gun in the future, It's got to make it really hard. And also it could make it hard to get certain jobs, certain clearance, in terms of security clearance.
Yep. Fire Waco says, Dad Bob Baboon says, absolutely zero meds here. Just high on life and Vigine.
Yes. And the thing too, prescription drugs, but also caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. Alcohol is a drug. Marijuana. A lot of my clients use marijuana very regularly to go to sleep, to relax. So a lot of people nowadays are using these, I guess, recreational things like alcohol, marijuana, for example. They're using these as their prescription drugs. So just remember that. It's like people are usually substituting one for another, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, that's good either. So just be mindful of that.
Love it. Stephanie,
Yes.
You're a jewel, a precious
Thank
treasure.
you.
Now, that was the perfect topic for you. The next topic is going to be perfect for me because we're talking about male pattern baldness. We're talking about another drug that has dangerous side effects, and that is Propecia. The generic is finasteride. And the Wall Street Journal did an article about that drug as well, looking at the aggressive marketing of these drugs, right? Targeting especially younger men on social media, and the serious side effects from finasteride that people are reporting. I saw people, when I posted this story on X yesterday, I saw one guy, and he was bald in his profile pic, and he was saying that it took him years to recover from the hormone imbalance that was caused by him getting on these hair loss drugs.
Wow.
And the psychological challenges that men face when they start losing their hair. Of course, I started losing my hair in my early 20s, and I'm thankful that I have as much of it as I have now.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about that. Floby says, don't take it AP, it'll mess up your wiener. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. That's what I was worried about. I got the prescription. I actually got a prescription for Propecia like 12, 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I never filled it.
No, I know that my dad, hopefully he won't mind me saying this, but I know my dad tried Rogaine years and years ago, but it was more of a topical thing where he squirted it on his head, I believe. I don't think he took something in his mouth and actually ingested it. But I don't think that was effective because there's a lot of shampoos, for example, that claim that they help with hair loss, but I don't know if they really do anything. And I don't know if they have side effects.
It's like minoxidil, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
this what you're talking about here, is this something where you take a pill?
Yeah.
Okay.
So telehealth companies, Hims, Keeps, and Roe, they aggressively market this drug, finasteride. It's a generic Propecia for hair loss, and they target young men on social media, right? Where they show, beautiful women playing with their thick, full hair, and the companies, of course. I say, of course, maybe I shouldn't say, of course. The companies aren't legally required to disclose the side effects in the ads. So it creates a bit of a knowledge gap for patients, right? They watch an ad, they think they take a pill, their hair either grows back or, Well,
those infomercials where they're like, take this drug that has such an interesting name. Some of the side effects, while they're dancing through the forest, some of the side effects may include death.
Yes.
Depression,
yes.
suicide.
Yeah.
We're so happy. Come take it now.
Yes, come take the drug. Some of the side effects may involve your balls exploding into blood and foam.
But that's only in a very small amount of people. So ask your doctor if it's right for you.
Exactly. Floby Tenderson in the chat says, minoxidil foam screwed up my sex life for 3 months. After 1 month of application, I trashed that shit. Okay.
And I'll tell you too, just briefly going back to the whole Xanax and depression, anxiety meds, those can mess up your sex life too. Okay, there's a lot of crazy side effects while you're taking them, not just from withdrawal.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, you know what makes my sex life great?
Me?
My brother.
Oh.
I'm so glad I had him on there for.
Well, in Game of Thrones, people are having sex with their brothers and sisters.
I'm glad we got Justin's face on there. He's live right now. Justin!
I'm not sure he realized.
What in the dueling banjos are you talking about?
Squeal like a piggy for me.
Bend over and squeal like a piggy. How's my volume and everything?
I think the volume's okay, Justin. Give me a test.
Okay.
Check.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. I'm talking. Hello.
Yeah, I think
more
it's pretty
volume,
good.
more gain.
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
I think it's good. Thank you.
All right. Oh my God!
Justin,
what are we
welcome
doing
to Wake Up
morning?
America shows. Glad to have you here, brother.
I guess so.
Welcome to our discussion about drugs, Rogaine, and sex.
I guess so.
Yes.
You know my favorite drug? I have a favorite drug.
Let's hear it,
I
Justin.
do have a favorite drug. My favorite drug is Klonopin. I love Klonopin.
Well, tell us
That's my
about it.
favorite.
Yeah,
So
Justin,
what has
tell us. Why
I
do
don't
you
want
like
to
it?
obviously pry too much into your private life, but yeah, what's been your experience?
Let's HIPAA violation this crap. I had in the early, around 20, well, let's see, when was this? About 2009, 2010-ish, I started having out of nowhere, I had terrible anxiety panic attacks, just completely out of nowhere. Could not source them, did not know what was going on. Couldn't ride in buses. So if there was any kind of enclosure where I was trapped, I would start to hyperventilate and I couldn't, focus. I'd get really dizzy.
Yeah.
My palms would get really sweaty. I'd start to kind of hyperventilate and start to imagine myself passing out, on the train or on the bus. It could be anything where I was trapped. So it would be buses, trains, planes. The minute a plane door closed, I would be because once you're on a plane, you're on a plane. You can't get off it. You know what I mean? There's no let me just get off at the next stop. Where a bus, I could get off. So went to the doctor and she gave me a Klonopin, and I'm telling you, that's what I call better living through chemistry. Because suddenly it was just it took my whole neuromuscular system and just calmed me down. It was just there's no threat. Because the weird thing about panic attacks is it feels like there's a tiger coming around the corner, but there's no tiger.
Right.
So you're just on hyper high alert. And I don't take it anymore, but I do go in every year when I see my doctor and I say, can I get a prescription for the year? And she'll usually give me 10 pills. And
So
that's for the whole year.
Can you take it as needed, or do you have to take it consistently?
Nope, it's just as needed.
Oh,
It's just as
okay.
needed.
Gotcha.
I call it my Dumbo feathers. I don't need them to fly, but it's just nice to know. And I'll tell you, there is a psychological positive effect of just having the medication on me. I don't even need to take it. I just know that I have it in case something happens
There you
where
go.
I'm if I have an anxiety situation. So just even the mere possession of the drug is calming. It
Placebo.
goes, I have a backup. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
placebo. Yeah, exactly.
It's it's like when you have a bag of Coke in your wallet and you're like,
Now,
Yeah, it's just like that.
I'm
It's
feeling great.
just like that. It's just like that.
now, when you got off of the Klonopin at first, did you feel any withdrawal effects at all, like what we were
No,
reading
because
about?
I only took it very rarely. It would
Okay.
be something where I would another situation that would make me a little bit anxious would be going to a dentist. Because you're sitting there in the chair, you can't get out of the chair, and they're in your freaking face and in your mouth, and it's
Yeah.
it's a lot, to have somebody up in your face. And I'm not alone in the dentist thing. I know a lot of people.
Oh
who
no,
get
you're
freaked
not
out.
alone in any of these things. Airplane anxiety is very, very common. Just feeling claustrophobic in general, I think, is a common anxiety.
Klonopin has
Yeah,
a
it's
high.
weird, and you can't.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you just can't explain it. The thing is, I pride myself on trying to be a very rational person, and let's reason through this. What's going on? Let's talk to let's talk ourselves through this. There is no danger. What's going on? But your whole body doesn't know that. Your
Right.
body does not know that you're not under threat. It's like your reptile brain suddenly
Yeah,
just turns on, and it's like danger, 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 and your rational brain is saying no, there's no danger here, but it's like this child inside of you just screaming, 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 and it's you don't know what to do.
So Klonopin is a benzo. It's in that same rank of drugs that we were discussing a little bit ago. What do you think about 83 million people in the United States having a prescription for that? Does that sound concerning to you at all, or?
83, how many? Say it again.
83 million prescriptions. We're a country of 333 million people. 83 million people on benzos, Justin?
Yeah.
Does that seem excessive?
I don't know. We live in a very anxious age. This is a very anxious time that people live in. And especially when you consider, let's just make it political here for a second. Look at all the meltdowns over the Trump stuff. Look at people who cannot psychologically control themselves rationally. They can't see they're being completely unhinged. And I'm like, well, if it just knocks the edge off of that and keeps us safer, I'd much rather have somebody doped up on drugs than be shooting up someplace. Like, let them be at home on their couch, you know, watching TV and just like zoned out of their mind than going out in public and like burning shit to the ground, you know?
And the thing about a lot of these medications, aside like Xanax and Klonopin, I think you can just take it and it works like instantly. But a lot of other drugs, you have to build it up in your system.
Yes,
so
that's
like
right.
you won't feel any effects from it for weeks. And so these people are still like, I can't function. You know, my medicine hasn't kicked in yet. And so that's a big problem too.
Yeah. No, the Klonopin is like an instant thing. It's like boop, 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 boop. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
And I've only, in my whole life, I've only needed to take it probably about 5 times.
Yeah.
You know.
So that means coping skills are what really have gotten you through.
And self-talk. Positive self-talk, you know, just being like, and also I just keep telling myself, one of my most helpful phrases that I ever said to myself was, there's enough oxygen in the room. That's the thing I kept telling myself.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you're having a panic attack, you feel like you're going to die. And so you don't, you know, so I just kept saying to you, if I can just keep breathing, if I can just, and I can take as much air as I want, I can breathe as much air as I want to breathe.
Yeah.
So I would just take big, you know, heapfuls of breath just to kind of calm down, you know, and get regulated. And, you know, I don't know. Like, it was funny because when you are a performer, when you're on stage or, you know, whatever, you do have some stage anxiety, but that's rational anxiety. That's rational anxiety. It's like, you're feeling these things normally. There's a reason for it. When you sort of have that unmoored anxiety, you can't really pin it on anything. You can't say, oh, it's because I'm going to go on stage, or, oh, it's because I'm nervous about this due date that's on Friday for my job and I don't know what to do. So when you have this anxiety thing, you can just be literally sitting on the couch and going, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. The world's collapsing. You know, it's a horrible. I would not wish that on my worst enemy, that feeling. It's horrible. It's like being trapped in your own private hell, and everyone around you is just kind of like, what's wrong? And you're like, like you just can't, it's just like you can't communicate it to other people what it's like. It's like being trapped inside your own body. It's the most awful feeling you can imagine. Yeah. And anything that took the edge off that for me, and I didn't want to drink. See, that's what most people will do.
Right, you didn't want to substitute one for the other. Exactly.
That's right. They'll just hit the bottle, because the bottle is how they'll regulate those feelings of anxiety. They'll just drink. And that's historically what people did. Yeah. We've just changed the drug now to be, you know, pharmaceutically approved.
Right. Now it's just a doctor's watching you and monitoring you.
Right. Because even my doctor, when I talked about alcohol consumption, she'd like, how many drinks do you have? And I would be like, I drink a bottle a day. And she'd be like, not that I didn't say that, but you know, the doctors are okay with like a glass of wine a day.
Yeah.
Like those doctors that I've talked to. But then you read another study and they're like, oh no, it's toxic. You know, I'm like, but wine,
it's going to give you cancer, right? You're going to die. I mean, I love killing my pain with alcohol. I think, you know, I'm not a benzodiazepine kind of guy. I'm more of a Coors Banquet beer or Hofbrau.
Once you have like I had one Klonopin, I was like, oh, well, I'll tell you what really happened was when I first moved to Boston, I went to a doctor for my voice because I was having issues with my singing voice. Yeah. And he prescribed me beta blockers.
Oh, those are good.
Those are awesome. Like if I ever was going to go back to heavy kind of performing again, I would be like, hook me up with some beta blockers, because those bad boys just take the edge off. You can get on stage, you can perform. Yeah. You know, it allows you to do your job. There's an actress, Heidi Blickenstaff, who's pretty well known. She's a Broadway performer. Yeah. And she did a whole social media thing about taking beta blockers. And she's like, I need to be able to do my job. She's like, I need to be able to show up and perform without this, you know, anxiety and stage fright that can come along with performing. And I was like, you know what, respect, because beta blockers, I took them. It wasn't until I took a beta blocker that I realized how stressed I just was in general. Mm-hmm. I was like, I cannot believe how high strung I am. Before I got on, you know, I was like, I could not believe it. I was like, my whole body just went, oh. I was like, holy crap. I have been living like a tightened spring. And I didn't realize it until I started taking beta blockers.
The allure is very strong, truly. You know, it's like to have ultimate relief is just so awesome to think about.
It sounds like a miracle.
Yes.
I mean, but in the end, it's like just like with alcoholics, you're not really solving the underlying problems. I mean, you're not really kind of tackling the root cause of the insecurity. But I mean, in regards to like the person, the Blickenstein who needs it for her job, she needs it to be able to do her job. It's kind of like the Olympics, right? Getting doped up for the Olympics or something like that. Do you really need it for your job? Or, I mean, is it a performance enhancing thing? I think there's a lot less at stake for performing versus, you know, competing against other human beings in a game. But I mean, it does lead one to wonder, you know, in the future, you know, how regulated will these drugs need to be to prevent, you know, to have a level playing field in sports on one side. And then two, if, for example, there's the trans question in terms of like people, you know, taking hormones and how much of that will contribute to them, you know, having like a detriment or a positive or a negative, right? A handicap in those things. But then, I mean, but I guess I'm just so skeptical of all these things, and maybe I shouldn't be and I'm a hypocrite because of the drugs that I.
No, it's okay
like.
to be. It is.
But I mean, I'm skeptical of these drugs because I do fear, just like they say with people who use alcohol to cover up their pain, that like we're not really addressing the root causes of what's giving the anxiety. Because I'll say this, like, and again, like we're getting pretty personal here, but like a lot of Stephanie's like anxiety and her problems were external. Like there were external causes for her anxiety, but a lot of them were internal too. And I feel like Stephanie's almost solved like the internal, almost entirely the internal problems. The external problems to an extent have been solved, but also like without drugs, with a healthy like just way of looking at things. You know, I sometimes I don't tell her to calm down in the sense like, you know, calm down, woman.
That's probably the worst thing to say to an anxious person.
But like
oh my God.
But I mean, like, what we need, you know what we need is we need some fucking parties. We need to get together with people. We need to get face to face with other human beings and get off of these screens. And we need to have conversations with people. And maybe it involves some alcohol, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, I feel as if social interaction in this country has. I was reading an article about this the other day, that Americans need to get together and party. We used to have parties. Yes. You used to like people used to get together in neighborhoods and have block parties and neighborhood parties, and they would go to their neighbors' houses and eat dinner with their neighbors. We don't do any of that shit anymore. No wonder people are depressed and on drugs.
We're too alone. We're too isolated. You know, I mourned for probably a good 2 or 3 years after I left college, because the social structure of college is so conducive to like support and feeling supported. Like I was thinking about, you know, just this morning, like when Mom passed away, I was in school. I was going through a terrible thing, right, which was the death of a parent. But I was surrounded by my friends and my classmates. I was surrounded by a very strong social community that allowed me to become activated in parties or different things, to just be social, so that I didn't isolate, that I didn't become heavily depressed about things. And I mean, the thing I miss is like, I just miss being able to walk down the hall and knock on someone's door and be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? You gonna go do something fun? You know, that level of social interaction for me, because I'm a social butterfly. I love people, I love my friends, you know. And I mourned a long time after that, because I realized adulthood is very lonely. Being an adult is a very lonely experience, and we don't talk about that. And I think that's gonna make you depressed. You know, like you said, Og, having those parties or having those social events used to be a way that adults could all come together and be social and mix and mingle. But now everyone's so isolated. You know, even teenagers don't go out anymore. Like we would in the 80s, we'd all go to the mall. So we would all be social together with our friends. And now kids don't go out. Teenagers do not go out and hang out with their friends, or if they do, they come over to the other's house. And so there's no sense of like, let's go be young and burn some shit, you know? Like I remember like growing up, and we would go, all of us would go over to my friend Carrie's house, and all of us would hang out, and we'd drive around the car, you know, all over Raymore and Raytown. And then like we'd go home and we'd be like, what's a tampon? So like we would watch a tampon get blown up in water. Like we were just like doing stuff as kids.
Or put a condom on a light bulb, like on a light fixture. I've done that before.
Yeah, just like being kids.
I'm
man.
not crying. I just
fun.
have my cold, by the way.
Grizz Cheese says, great show today. Listening while driving to a customer site. Had a period of time anxiety was ruling my life out of nowhere, but worked through it on my own. by surviving those situations enough times. Well done.
And that's the thing is, I always say lean into the discomfort, because if you can do that, then your body is going to start to adapt and your mind is going to start to rewire. Your mind really can change.
Okay, I've got the clip. So the story was in the Atlantic. More Americans need to party more. Let's listen to this. Justin, take a listen to this.
Yeah.
What if there were a way to smush all of your friends together in one place, like maybe one with drinks and snacks and chairs? You could see your work friends and your childhood friends and the people you've chatted with at school drop-off all at once instead of scheduling several different hangs. What if you could introduce your single friends and let them loose on each other without any apps required? I'm being annoying, obviously. There is a way. It's parties. We need more of them. Our national loneliness is an urgent public health issue, according to the Surgeon General. Only 4.1% of Americans attended or hosted a social event on an average weekend or holiday in 2023. This is a 35% decrease since 2004. 6 months ago on Reddit, someone asked one of the saddest questions I've ever seen on a social platform, which is really saying something. The question was, did anyone think there would be more parties? When I was a kid, my parents and extended family used to have serious parties on a regular basis, the post continues. I remember houses and yards full of people, music all the way up, lots of food, and of course, free-flowing alcohol. Neighbors, family, coworkers, their friends, they all showed up. And likewise, my parents went to their parties. I thought that this is what my adult years would be like, but they aren't. The post got more than 300 responses, many of them sympathetic. Here's the thing, everyone wants to attend more parties, but no one wants to throw them. We just sort of expect them to appear when we need them, like fire trucks. But we're obligated to create the social world we want. If we want parties, we need to throw them. They can be whatever you want. A 15-person Super Bowl party, a picnic in the park with 20 of your friends, an overfull house party, guest count unknown. They don't need to be expensive. They don't need to be formal. They don't even need to be in your own house. In 2025, I have a challenge for you. Resolve to throw 2 parties. 2 because 2 feels manageable, and chain letter math dictates that if every party has at least 10 guests, everyone gets 20 party invitations a year, possibly many more. America is in a party deficit. You could be the change we need.
There we go. Okay. I mean, yeah, I love it.
That's uplifting.
Yeah.
Now, my parents, we only had parties with my family. We didn't have any parties with our neighbors. We didn't really have good relations with our neighbors back in the 80s.
Okay. Well, I mean, it used to be different. It used to be that people in neighborhoods would gather together and have block parties and house parties, and people would come over and go. And Stephanie, we throw parties. We invite people. But,
we definitely try to be those social people.
But you know what the problem is that, and I don't know if this is us too, but a lot of times you'll throw a party and people will leave at 9 p.m. Right. So it's the party ends because everybody's all right, we showed up, we were here for a couple hours, and they go home. There's no ragers, right? What do you do? How do you get people together and have some fun and have them stay longer?
We've got a couple of friends that they could stay with us in through the night, and we'd all be happy together. Yeah. We do. But that's very rare.
It is. It's rare. It's hard to find people who really want to party. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, people feel like they get whatever social fix they need online or something. Justin, what do you weigh in?
Well, I think that, we were lucky because we had family things all the time because we had such a big family. So we were always having a birthday party. We'd have homemade ice cream and cake, and we'd go over, all of us together, be grandparents and cousins and uncles and aunts and all of that. And I think now as you get older, life happens, right? But it's so funny that, we'd have parties on a Sunday afternoon, or we'd have on a Saturday afternoon, there'd be a birthday party or something. So it didn't have to be a nighttime thing. But I mean, I do remember days of having to take what I call a disco nap, right? Where you're going to go out and have a big rager that night. So you'd say, okay, well, I got to sleep from 2 to 4, take a 2-hour nap because you knew you were going to go out and stay out late, I mean, and staying out late in my college years was normal. I mean, going to bed at 2 o'clock was the norm. I didn't ever go to bed before 2 a.m. I mean, that was my normal bedtime to go to bed. And I would get up at 9, 9 or 10 and be going to class. But yeah, no, I think the adult, nobody tells you. That's the thing that I've said to myself. I wish that someone had told me how lonely adulthood would be. That because people don't make the time anymore. That's the thing. They don't make the time. You can have a party, but people may not come, and it's that's the thing that's so disappointing. It's like you can put these things together, and then people are like, oh, I can't. I have to take my kid to the baseball thing, and I can't do that. And that's the thing that's been so hard for me. It's like so many of my friends have families now, and getting. I mean, adulthood is basically making plans with your friends that never come to fruition until you die.
Yeah.
We should get together. We should get together, and then finally you're dead.
I've envisioned a world, you know how you said that college was this great time where you could knock on someone's door. I've envisioned a world where, as adults, we could move into apartment buildings that are like dorms, or even into neighborhoods where we would have a community dining area where we could eat with our friends, just like we would in school. And I asked myself, why wouldn't that work as adults? It somehow worked in college. It somehow worked in high school and grade school.
Well, you've literally just described a retirement home.
Right. But why can't we have that in our midlife? Why do we have to wait until the nursing home, right? Why do we have to have this huge part of our life where we're not social? And then all of a sudden, when we're old people, then we get to play bingo.
Right. There was one Greek philosopher, I think it was Epicurus, who always was, I think it was him, I'm not sure, I have to somebody in the chat, do my research. It was, he said his ideal life was to live communally with his friends.
Yeah.
That there would be a communal life with your friends, that you would all live together, not in the same house per se, but there would be some way that all of you would come together and you would build this social life. You would have, people could hang out with each other. And that to him was the highest sort of goal of his life.
Yeah.
Was to sort of build these Epicurean communities where people would come together and hang out and be together throughout their lives. You would have a community there with you your entire life. And I mean, church does that to a degree. You know what I mean? We still have vestiges of that in church communities where, somebody will bring home a casserole and say, I heard you were sick and you're on the prayer list and I brought you some green bean casserole, and you're like, oh, thanks, Marge. There's just a little bit of that, that survives. But people aren't going to church and they're not building those communities either. So they're losing that as well. I mean, that's another net positive of church as well, is you get a community that's built in. So, yeah.
And I think, too, in this modern world, we don't all live in the same place, right? Correct. It's like my mom lives in one state, dad in another, sister in another. So we couldn't just call each other up and be like, hey, come on over for a party. We would have to literally make travel plans, spend lots of money to even get to this party. So I think it's something about this modern world where we're now moving away from the people that we love, and it's making it harder to connect.
Well, that's what Austin was talking about the other day when, we were talking about the isolation of adulthood and people not sort of coming together, and how we grew up. Like when I was a kid, when Austin was a kid growing up, we could just get farmed out to grandparents, right? Like the idea of a communal family situation, that was much more common. Like we'd go for a whole week and go over to Grandma Bill's house and just hang out for a whole week over at Grandma's, and she'd take us over to Benjamin Franklin's and we'd go, shopping in Independence, or she'd take us, different stores and things, and, and only to the extent that she could, because she'd get tired and she'd be like, Jesse, I'm tired and I want to go home.
Oh my goodness.
So then we'd go to the Independence Mall. She'd take us to the mall, but or in the backyard, we just hang out, playing outside until, the sun went down when the fireflies would come out. So we had this larger family thing. And I think even parents today, like, they're raising kids. And the nuclear family is a new idea, right? It's a new idea. Kids were always raised in large families with aunts and uncles and grandparents. I mean, it was always a group thing. So imagine being a parent and being able to say, oh, I'm going to farm the kids off to my aunt, my sister Sheila for the week. It's like you get a week off from the kids.
Yeah.
It's like, what that does for your mental health. That's good for you. You don't need to have your kids all the time.
Austin and I have been watching reels about this very topic, and it's something about this modern generation.
A lot of millennials are online and they're complaining about their parents not helping to take care of their kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I never expected that, like, my parents would take. I mean, obviously mom's gone, dad's in his 80s. And then my mother-in-law lives in Michigan, and our brother and sister-in-law live in California. So
dad in Montana.
Yeah. So we have nobody, to help us raise Hazel or to help us out.
Your dad did, babysit for Hazel when we went on the ski trip. So thankful to him,
sure.
and I know that he would help out with her more if we were closer.
Right.
Absolutely. But we're over 2.5 hours away from him.
So, maybe a lot of millennials are just in this situation, right? Where it's just like they're spread out. Because of the digital nomad life that most people live these days, right? You don't have to be close to someone to be able to have a conversation with them. You have a conversation online, but it just can't replace being able to have a babysitter. I mean, for God's sakes, Justin, Stephanie and I, we just, even this morning, I think.
We were talking about it in the shower.
Talking about childcare, daycare, what people have to spend just to take their kids. Oh. It's unbelievable the amount of money people are spending on daycare for their kids, Justin. Thousands of dollars a month.
Oh, it's
so that somebody else can raise their kids.
Right.
And a lot of parents
I remember as a kid growing up that KinderCare. Remember, it was that building with the red roof that had like a little roof on the top, like a little schoolhouse?
Mother's Day Out, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one we went to. But there was KinderCare because that was the trendy one. Yeah. KinderCare was like the branded one that was like, really, really high end.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, we got dropped off at daycare, basically, in preschool at the Methodist Church. The Methodist Church just did Mother's Day Out. And I don't even remember how many hours it would be a day. It wasn't probably much, maybe 5 hours a day or something. But it would just be a way for, a mother to get, and it was, get some time off, and I met some of my friends that I would go all the way through school with. But it's a new world. Mom quit her job, because she wanted to stay home with us. So at least she could work over in the office with Dad's business. And she could literally run over to the house, and there we were, sitting there watching Beverly Hillbillies. But listen to my story about a man named Jed. Go down there, better get my family fed. Yep.
So the Beverly Hillbillies was your babysitter.
Yes.
Exactly. Beverly Hillbillies, Different Strokes.
Price is Right, Bob Barker.
Oh, yeah. It's really like technology has become the new babysitter of children, like tablets. Buy your child a tablet, they'll be happy for hours. And there's that whole debate among crunchy granola mamas and the other mamas, about screen time. And it's just like, how much is too much? Is it really hurting the child? Somehow, Austin and I, we don't really show Hazel much screen time at all. It just sort of happens that way.
Even when she's near screens, she actually doesn't even care about them.
She only cares about the phone. She just grabs for the phone and wants to eat it.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
yes.
Yeah, no, the phone thing is bad. If I had a teenager, if I had a student, I'd be like, no phone until you're 16. Like nothing until you're 16 years old, because we know it's correlated with bad mental health outcomes. Yeah. It makes kids super, super depressed and super anxious. It is a net negative for young people's brains, and their brains are plastic. They're very plastic. Mm-hmm. So no screens. If I was a parent, I'd be like, no screens until you're 16. Sorry.
Support the Wake Up America show and our quest to make better people out of ourselves and society. The Wake Up America show is your freedom spot 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. I'm the host, Austin Peterson. This is my lovely wife, Stephanie, that you can see sitting there, that beautiful redheaded girl. That's my brother, Justin Peterson, over there on the right side of your screen. Everybody say hello to Justin. This is Freedom Family Friday, and I bring my family onto the show, and we talk about topics that are a little bit closer to home, psychological topics of loneliness, topics of drugs, and topics of marriage and relationships and family. So if you're enjoying the Wake Up America show, make sure you click the like button on the feed to help us to grow the show, and it's totally free to click the follow button as well if today is your first time watching the show. Be a regular viewer of the Wake Up America show. It's 5 days a week, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. And if you're watching us on any of the platforms not Rumble, then consider joining us over at rumble.com this morning at rumble.com/AP for Liberty, because Rumble is the only social network that has not censored me, suppressed me, demonetized me. It is the only social network that has allowed me to have my freedom of speech to talk about the topics that you're hearing this morning that apparently are too hot for some of the other leftist networks. So make sure that you join us at Rumble, because Rumble cares about free speech and has supported us and our show and our small family business, which is this podcasting business. It's supported by merchandise sales. It's supported by views. It's supported by your comments in the chat. And of course, by joining us live and listening to me and Stephanie and Justin. We're the Petersons and we love freedom.
Let me talk about the balding thing.
Okay, let's switch to that. We're talking about the Wall Street Journal article that came out. I think you got it, Justin, didn't I?
I have it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's about the side effects from finasteride, right? Propecia,
right.
For hair loss, and the ads that target these young men. And obviously, this is a subject near and dear to both of us. It's something that we both have to deal with it. It's a reality, and most men have to deal with it, right? Most men don't make it through life having a full head of hair all the way to 99 years old. That's just the reality.
Yeah. So the trick is, one, don't take drugs. It's gonna, you're right, Og. It's one of those things where it's like, you don't like it, your ego doesn't like it, right? Your ego hates it because it's just like, oh man. And it's what it is really, let me get super philosophical. It's really a confrontation with death is what it is. Your body's changing and it's making you realize you're not young. You're not, young and verve and vim and verve and all that. But the thing about hair loss is that, I think I started noticing my hair going when I was in my late 20s. And I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I can remember being like looking in the mirror in Santa Fe and going, oh my God, I'm actually losing my hair. And this was like maybe 2006 or so. But the thing about this drug is I think they weren't telling guys what the side effects were, right? That which is like, you should know those things. My thing is this, like, one, if you're thinning hair, your hair is thinning, keep your hair cut short. Like, keep it very, very tight, right? Don't let the hair grow out very long. Just keep it very, very short. And then work out, because muscles will make up for a receding hairline. Like, if your physique looks good, no, seriously.
True.
It's like, if you have a good looking body, no one cares about your hair. I'm serious. Like, if you have good shoulders and you have a good chest and you got a good butt, nobody is going to care that you don't have hair, right? A fit guy is good looking guy, regardless of whether or not he's got hair or not. So I'd always say, better to work out, look jacked, and who cares about your hair? Like
RFK Jr., right?
Right. Well, here's the thing. So I'm people refer to me as pompous, right? I like to say, egotistical. Like, maybe I'm very what's the word for it? Vain. I consider myself to be a very vain person. I'll admit it. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, a lot of it has to do with the nature of the industries that I've worked in, which are, of course, extremely centered around looks. I mean, they call politics Hollywood for ugly people, but there's a reason why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got elected, and it's not from her cortex, right? They call her Alexandria Occasional Cortex, right? But there's clearly a reason why we're electing some people to office. I remember as a matter of fact, when I was in 2018, when I was running for the U.S. Senate, I gave a speech to a high school, and the girls were asking about Josh Hawley, and I was just like, what do you think about him? And they were like, he's dreamy. And I'm like, oh, this is what these people are voting for, of course.
His hair is going gray. I saw an up close video of him.
And you see that, just that noticing of itself, of the women noticing those things, is what is enough to make men go, oh my God, I have to start to fix this. So they seek out these drugs. They seek out finasteride, and I got a prescription for Propecia 20 years ago, I think I was in my mid-20s when I noticed my hair loss, Justin, so about the same time as you. And I immediately was like, oh my God, this is going to hurt my career. This is going to hurt my sex life. This is going to hurt my relationships. This is going to hurt in so many ways. So I went and got the prescription, and I remember thinking to myself, what is this going to do to your body to try and stop a natural process that's occurring in your body. And believe me, I'm not anti-drug or anything like that. You know, like I think, you know, drugs can be useful things. But I said to myself, I'm like, this is a natural process. Your body is trying to go through the process of aging, and by introducing this adulterant into your body to try and block that natural progress, like what could it be? What could the side effects be? And I think I remember asking about potential side effects, and of course it was like the loss of sexual activity, the loss of the ability to maintain an erection for 6 hours, right? So then what? You're going to go take the blue pill. You're going to need. You're going to have to take. You're going to have to take. What's the pill for the
Viagra?
The boner pills, right? You're going to have to take boner pills as well.
Or Cialis.
And then it's like what happens is like all of a sudden you're having to take all these drugs to counteract the effects of all these other drugs. I'm so thankful that I just never went and fulfilled that prescription because.
Me too. So that we could have a child.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think that those male baldness drugs don't affect the front of your scalp. They only affect the back.
Right.
So it's like it only does the crown of your head. It doesn't really do the front of your hair. At least that was when I was looking at them years ago. So it doesn't even really solve like the male pattern baldness, I guess, or in the front. It just takes care of what's in the back. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
the only thing that I have seen that has been effective are like what Elon Musk did. Get a very pricey, expensive surgery to get the hair. So because the hair on the back and the sides of my head, lush, full, no problem. But the hair on the top of my head, of course, thinning and going according, the same pattern that's following yours up there. But So if I were to have surgery, right, I could go in and I could take the top of my head here and I could, fill that in with the hair from the back of my head, and that would be effective. But then it's like, first of all, if you don't have the money for it, then what's the point? Two, if you do have the money for it, couldn't you use that money for better purposes? And like you said, Justin, it's much better to just work out, get fit, right? Just be as healthy as you can in other ways. Yeah. Because I'm lucky. I don't have anyone to impress other than Stephanie, and Stephanie thinks I'm sexy anyway. Like
I do every day when you walk in the room.
The fattest I've ever been, and she still thinks she's hot for me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, I think you're fat.
I am fat. Yeah, Cosmo says you're fat, but I am down with that.
Well,
I'm down with that.
I can talk about the hair plugs actually.
Justin, go, Steffi, go.
So my dad, my whole life as a kid, he always had a comb over. He was known for having that, right? Kind of like Donald Trump. And so finally, years later in his 50s, he ended up getting hair plugs. And I don't think it's covered by your insurance. So yes, you would have to save up a lot of money for that. But till this day, he still, does not have to have the comb over anymore. His hair is attached right there in the front. So it can be worth it to really boost your confidence, I would say. If you can afford it, obviously.
Yeah, everybody's got to find their thing. I know people that have gone to Turkey to do the hair plug thing. Mm-hmm. They'll fly overseas to have it done. I know a bodybuilder guy that's here in Boston that used to work out at my gym, and he was very much online. So he was, social media presence, and he was balding. And so he just went over and I think got, some hair plugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody has to do what they got to do to feel good in themselves. I've seen some of the guys, we used to make fun of guys, would wear a rug, they'd wear like a toupee on the top of their head.
Yeah.
And it would be like, it would clearly look like a toupee. You'd be like, oh boy, the colors wouldn't match.
My grandfather wore a toupee, yes.
Oh my gosh, there's that guy in Christmas Vacation, the grandpa who has the toupee that doesn't match. It doesn't look anything like the rest of his hair. But nowadays, some of the toupees and things that they're doing with the guys looks really good, where they'll cut the sides of the hair very, very, very short, and then they wear like a toupee on the top. But the way it looks like a very modern haircut. And if you looked at it from 20 feet away, you probably would think a second thing to think that was some kind of a hairpiece. So hair pieces for men are getting better, I think, in terms of how they're being constructed. For guys that want to go that route, usually it's not a whole head piece. It's going to be something you're just going to probably wear on your top, and you're going to keep the sides very, 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 very short. So you kind of have to give up the lush sides of your hair to get the topper put on to make that top look good. But it's washable and, But, we grew up with Hair Club for Men, don't you? I think those were commercials we used to see. I'm not just what is it? What is it? I'm not just the owner. I'm also a customer. Wasn't that what he used to say? That was the tagline.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not just an actor. I'm also a customer or something. I'm not the
Yeah,
owner.
exactly,
I'm not just the
exactly.
owner of it. I'm not the customer. Yeah. So there's hair plugs. There's drugs. There's minoxidil. There's finasteride, Rogaine. I
There's
think
shampoos that you can use
Mm-hmm.
and topical things that you can put on your head.
But it's like it all of it works on that marketing of the fear of death and of aging. It all plays on onto our fears, and for many people the results are dubious, and for some people, including the patients that were quoted in this Wall Street Journal article about it, they experience things like anxiety, dizziness, slurred speech, reduced libido, and physical changes. One man experienced erectile dysfunction and severe anxiety, leading to hospitalization after using topical finasteride spray from Keeps. And doctors have been reporting a steady rise in young men seeking help for the sexual and psychological side effects of finasteride. I'm so glad I never took these drugs.
Just work out. You will increase your libido. You will increase your blood flow. Okay, you don't have hair, but your parts will work and you'll look good and you'll be sexually alluring. So, we're looking in the wrong place. Again, it's superficial. It's a superficial way of solving the problem. Just exercise. Pick up some weights. We'll do everything but pick up some GD weights. Pick up some 45s and do some do some fort things, do some overhead Arnold presses, do some bench presses, do some squats. Even squatting will increase your testosterone. That's one of the best ways to get testosterone lifted in your whole body is to start doing really good heavy squats because your legs are your biggest muscles in your body. So exercising your leg muscles and squats will increase the human growth hormone and increase your, libido. Because as you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you want to go to Pound Town.
And Austin, you have very nice legs, very strong.
I
legs.
got my mom's cheerleader legs. I inherited those.
Yeah, mom had good legs. Mom had good legs. Dad had skinny legs. Dad had little skinny legs.
Dad was like built like the stork or a crane, but mom was built like one of those tiger sharks that we've been watching in those documentaries.
Yeah.
Justin, it's been a lot of fun this morning. We still got about 20 minutes, but I do want to encourage people who are enjoying the show this morning to drop some Rumble rants. If you said to yourself, damn, this is good commentary, Justin and Austin and Stephanie, they're so entertaining, and they're talking about issues that affect me and that I really care about, can you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
Look at it as a birthday present for me.
Yeah, drop some birthday presents, guys. Drop some birthday presents for Stephanie. Help me take out my baby tomorrow. We've been looking into fun stuff for our trip tomorrow, going to St. Louis, and she's been checking out restaurants. We're going to a couple of different shops that she is really excited to see. So help drop some birthday gifts over there, some Rumble Rants for Stephanie, guys. Bless me with something. Or go to forlibertyshop.com and get yourself an awesome Gulf of America Shark beach towel. Summer's coming, baby. We're getting Beachbody ready. Justin and I are working out as hard as we can to get as sexy as possible. The Gulf of America Shark beach towel is 5 stars rated from independent reviews from people. So check out forlibertyshop.com or just bless us with something like a Rumble rant. Okay? Great. Andy Opperman says, Andy, happy birthday, Stephanie. Dropped $20 in. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Appreciate you,
That's
brother.
very helpful. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
You have been a godsend to us.
Andy
truly.
Opperman is why this show's still on the air. Nelson65 says happy birthday as well.
Oh, Nelson, you too. You have helped us tremendously.
Oh my God, yes. We owe a lot of these people huge debts of gratitude and gratefulness. And please understand that we absolutely are grateful for every penny that you guys donate to our show to help us to keep this going. Because without you guys, there is no Freedom Family Friday. Without you guys, there is no Austin, Justin, and Stephanie on Friday mornings. It's amazing that we've been able to keep this operation running for as long as we can. 2 last topics that I wanted to go over. You know what? This is a fun one. Let's talk about that one, and maybe we'll finish with the ChatGPT prompt that I gave you this morning, Justin, to kind of help our listeners out with. A woman went viral after refusing to give her seat to a crying child. She's suing the airline and the passenger who filmed her. Get this. A Brazilian woman went viral after refusing to give up her pre-selected window seat to a crying child. she's officially filed charges against the airline and the passenger who filmed her. So Jennifer Castro, a bank employee from Brazil, found herself at the center of an internet firestorm after an incident in December. A video, which Jennifer says was filmed by a fellow passenger and not the mother, went viral, leading to a whirlwind of online shaming. So she rose to media fame with her Instagram following. So now she's officially filed a claim against the airlines to compensate for distress, right? So this was the parents. So the incident began during boarding when she noticed a child sitting in her designated seat.
Oh.
Since she had selected the window seat in advance, Castro expected the child to move to another seat. I waited for him to correctly accommodate himself in another seat, and then I sat down in my seat. The situation escalated when somebody started filming her without her consent. Throughout the flight, the child cried a lot. She says it's understandable. She says what surprised me was the fact a person who had nothing to do with the situation started filming without permission, insulting me, and trying to publicly embarrass me simply because I did not want to change seats. So who am I the asshole here? It's like those Reddit forums. Justin, your take.
Listen, if it was me, I paid for the seat. This is where I want to sit, and I have a right to sit where I want to sit and where I paid to sit. Sorry. You know, people with, I have seen people with, no offense to you guys, because I mean, I'm not putting you in this, but like I've seen so many people with children who become absolutely insane in public situations. Like when I would be in New York, right? These women with their strollers, they would literally kill a bitch to push the stroller into somebody's face and to get this, I'm like, holy shit, they would wield these carriages like they were weapons, So I'm sorry, like, the rest of us, like, who live in the world, like, if I paid for a ticket and it's not like Southwest, where Southwest, I think it's open seating. I'm sorry, I paid for my ticket. Like, you have a child, you knew you had a child. Your child is not a surprise. This is where I just would be like, no, this is where I want to sit.
Okay, Steffi, we say
I don't know.
Steffi, we say thank you to Clementine and to Pulp Fiction Buff for their donations for your birthday. Happy birthday!
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
So, Stephanie, your take.
So, I'm a little bit different. So, I think it's personal preference. If you paid for your seat, you are definitely entitled to sit there. That is totally okay that lady pushed through and said, I want to sit here. For me, I do have a soft spot for kids. Although I don't like entitled children, I do believe that children do need to learn discipline and they can't have everything they want. But if that kid was like actually sitting next to me on the flight, I would, and if they were wanting to sit at the window seat, I probably would just be like, you know what, it's okay. You're a kid, like enjoy your life. Like, because I just like to make kids happy. So I probably would, but I would never shun somebody for not allowing the kid to sit there.
The woman says that she hopes legal action will set a precedent against public shaming and unauthorized exposure. She says, I believe we should respect people's choices and decisions, especially when they are within their rights. It's essential to normalize no and understand that no one should be forced to justify something they simply don't want to do. Agreed.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. And I will say this, I have had situations where I have been in the proximity of children who were obstreperous. There's your $5 word for today.
That's a $10 word.
$10. Give him Austin money for that.
Exactly.
But I will say this. The flight attendants, though, in those particular situations were awesome because they'd be like, can I get you a drink? Like they would be like, give me a little, yes, they would give me like some vodka. They'd be like, here you go, here's 2. They would give me like 2 vodkas.
Can I get you a Xanax?
Exactly, or Klonopin. But no, like the flight attendants in those situations would always be really cool. Like if you did sort of make if you did sort of be like, ugh, fine. The flight attendants would be like, oh, here you go, here's some extras, snacks, or here's some, vodka for you. So, they would always smooth it over. And I think in all things and in all situations, context is key. Like you were saying, like if I'm in the same row with the kid, like if the kid and I are like literally sitting next to each other, I don't really care about that. I think it's when like it's a parent from some other row who wants to come into your row and like come into where you're sitting because maybe it's like an exit row or something, or, there's some other thing where you're like, oh, I got what I wanted, Because I mean, I know I'm not the only person who is delighted when the door closes on the plane and there's no one in your row.
Oh,
You're just like, yes. You're just like, there's no one coming. You know, I love it when they say the plane is not a capacity. I do a happy dance inside because I realize there's going to be some open seating on the plane, which is always nice. You know, you like to spread out a little bit. But yeah, no, context is key. But in general, you know, there is a sort of there can be for some parents like this sense of like, you know, I've got a kid, I have special rights. And I'm like, no, you're in society with the rest of us. So you have to, you know, act accordingly.
Yeah.
Will Run Riot says, I mostly agree. However, I disagree with her point about shaming. We need more shaming. The lack of shame is a big part of why Western society is such a toilet now. Good point. Fire Waco says, not very libertarian. Should have asked the kid how badly they wanted to sit by the window. I think he's talking about ka-ching, ka-ching. Yeah, kid, how much money you got? Cough it out.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You know, now that we're parents, we definitely understand that kids sometimes do things that you just really have no control over. Like Hazel, last night we were at a barbecue place and she was literally staring at a black man. Like she would not take her eyes off of him. And like, I felt terrible.
We kept trying to feed her, so she would like, until we put food. We put food in her mouth, and then as soon as we put food in her mouth, she's like, black man. You know?
I mean, she probably thought he was like very attractive or something.
I've been feeling red hot, baby. Yes.
You know, and again, this is tabula rasa. Like, we have not told her anything about minorities. You know, we have exposed her to all colors, everybody, and so she just chose to stare. And it's like, as a parent, what do? You know, should you literally remove your child from that situation?
He wasn't like any kind of black man. He was like a Tyrone. He was huge.
Yeah, he was a cool black dude.
Black dude.
Yeah.
She was, you know.
Yeah, he was a
never
Tyrone.
saw that before.
Yeah, she's like, why does Tyrone make me feel so funny inside?
Her first crush.
Your superpower is strategic.
But that's where I'm saying sometimes when you're in public as a parent, I can understand where you kind of, you know, just say, I just have to fix this problem right away. And you're like desperate to just get your kid to shut up, you know, because you're so embarrassed.
I have a question for Stephanie, and then I want Justin to answer it. I'm asking you this, Stephanie, because I trust you. All right. And to give me an honest answer. What's a superpower that you believe that I have that I am not fully using? What's a superpower that you think I have that I'm not fully using?
Your good speaking skills.
Okay.
I think you could definitely give more speeches around the world.
Do more public engagements of speaking engagements.
That is truly your place.
Justin, I mean, you know me quite well. I mean, not as like on a daily interaction basis like Stephanie, but would you say that you could you tell me what a superpower is that maybe you think I have that I'm not using fully?
I think your comedy. I think you're a very funny person, and I don't think maybe you lean into that as much as you could probably lean into it, because I think you're actually a very funny person. So that's what I would
There we go.
say.
Okay, I've learned some things.
Yeah. Didn't you try comedy before?
No. When I was in college, but I had no idea how to like make a funny stand-up thing. So maybe I should try stand-up comedy. So my superpower, according to ChatGPT, and I thought this would be a fun way to end the show today, is to have everybody copy and paste this into either Grok or ChatGPT. I'm going to copy and paste this into Grok.
Does it have to know you first?
I mean, it's already... Grok, for example, can take all my public posts, so Grok can answer it, but I asked ChatGPT as well. Here's what ChatGPT says. My superpower is strategic vision combined with rapid execution. You have an uncanny ability to spot trends, create compelling content, and pivot quickly to capitalize on opportunities, whether it's launching a new product, show, or business venture. However, I think you're not fully leveraging this by delegating effectively and optimizing your workflow. You have so many irons in the fire, live shows, merchandise, a growing podcast network, and now a gaming show. But because you're hands-on with everything, your energy gets spread thin. If you could refine your processes and lean more on your team while ensuring they execute at your high standards, Brad, you'd free up Stephanie, you'd free up more time for the big picture moves that truly set you apart. Your ability to create viral, high impact content and grow audiences is something that could scale even further if you had more time to focus on those strategic plays instead of getting caught up in operational details. Delegating more aggressively might be the key to unlocking that next level. That's great advice.
For my sake, I'm going to say no to delegating more to me because I think my water cup is also full.
You have so many spoons, Stephanie. You're all out of spoons.
Yes, that's right. Yep. So I think you and I need to both just delegate to Brad. I think that's what it is. Just Brad, we'll just put everything on you. I'm joking.
Maybe we need more Brads.
Delegation is hard though when you own a business because clearly you built the business because you've got your way of doing things and your attention to detail and how you've done things. It takes a lot of trust to sort of hand things over to somebody else to make someone a manager. But this is also one of the reasons why a lot of businesses fail because one person is everything. And there are three people that run a business: an entrepreneur, a manager, and a technician. And the problem is that we don't often, as we build a business, those people need to become different people. You need to then hire a manager, then you need to hire a technician, someone who does the technical things. And that's hard, because when you build something, you're like, like you have a bakery, anything, can do anything. It's like, well, I bake my donuts this way, or I bake my cakes this way, and then Sally comes in and she does it totally different. You're like, that's not how I bake my cakes. It can drive you crazy. It can drive you nuts.
Justin,
for sure.
Yeah. Justin, did you run that through that?
I did. I run mine. Yeah,
so what is the prompt? I can do it on mine.
Yeah, let me share with you the prompt while Justin tells us what his says. I'll copy and paste it for you, Steph. Go ahead, Justin. What was yours?
Mine said this morning. It said your biggest your biggest underutilized superpower is your ability to distill complex ideas into clear, compelling, and digestible insights. You have a deep well of knowledge, whether it's vocal pedagogy, history, business, or performance, and you can explain things in a way that's both witty and authoritative, but you're not fully leveraging this gift in a way that scales beyond one-on-one teaching or personal writing projects. So that's what it told me.
Wow, Justin. I mean, what are you going to do with that?
It's really good, right? Yeah. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
I think they're both true about you guys. I think that's pretty spot on for sure. So, here, I'm going to run it through mine.
Justin, what do you plan on doing with that information?
Well, it says here, where could this go further, right? That's the second part of this. And it's like video content and social media. Your unique voice and expertise could reach a much larger audience with well-crafted video content. A published book or course. Public speaking, workshops, or master classes. And then at the end it says, you already have the knowledge, you already have the clarity, you already have the personality. The only thing missing is putting yourself in front of more people.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
So I don't think mine is going to be accurate. It says, since I don't know you personally, I'll give you an honest answer based on a hunch and some general human potential. So no, it's more like a
fortune not using ChatGPT very much.
Are you using my
Grok.
account?
I'm using Grok.
Open up ChatGPT.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Let me do it. Actually, let me run it in there.
Just say Steffi.
Now,
and then it'll know
give it to me for Stephanie Peterson, my wife, based on what you know about her. Okay, let's see what it says. I don't know if it knows you enough, but we will see.
It'll be like you should have 10,000 children.
Yes, Stephanie's superpower is community building through authenticity and warmth. She has a natural ability to make people feel seen, heard, and valued. Whether it's through her engagement with the Wake Up America show audience, her role in Freedom Family Friday, or her work on marketing emails and texts, she brings a genuine personal touch to everything she does, which is a rare and highly valuable skill in an increasingly impersonal digital world. However, I don't think she's fully owning this role as a major force of the brand. Her presence could be amplified even more, whether through more on-camera time, leading audience engagement initiatives, or building a women-driven, liberty-focused community. People resonate with her story, her family life, and her perspective. She could be the bridge that brings in a whole new audience segment that might not always connect with Austin's high-energy style, but would find her more relatable, trustworthy, and compelling. If she leaned into this, she could become a powerhouse community leader and influencer in her own right, drawing more people into the For Liberty network, deepening loyalty, and even expanding into her own projects under the brand. Justin.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty darn good.
I agree.
love that.
I used to be a YouTuber before we all got together, and it was working out pretty good. But it takes hours and hours and hours, and then I'd have to start delegating.
It sure does. It sure
And
does.
the editing, it just alone, the editing is a nightmare. I mean, like I've heard people who it's just like
Yeah.
all consuming.
Oh,
And
it is.
For the YouTube thing, can be no return on investment. I mean, I my thing is like at this point in my life, I don't want to be losing years of my life for something that doesn't even have a good projected return on investment.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't waste my time. That's for people in their 20s. You know, I'm like, nope, if it's going to happen, it needs to happen within a year or two, and it cannot be like this protracted, 10-year plan. I'm like, I may not be here in 10 years. Like, let's go.
Thank you to Joel Lattimore. He just gifted subscriptions to Justin and to Nelson65.
Yeah, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. Justin, this has been a great show this morning. I think people really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, topic-wise, this stuff is very close to home, but good stuff. Anything else you want to share with our listeners?
My Substack comes out at 10 o'clock this morning. It's going to be at justinpeterson.substack.com. I'm writing all about the reverence for beauty. A lot of the culture that we're living in now is obviously needs defenders. So I guess I'm putting myself in the position of being a defender of Western civilization, Western culture, Western art, Western music. Because everybody wants to tear it down and wants to call it patriarchal, white suppressive, whatever. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going down that road with you. So, I'm talking today about beauty and why we need beauty in our civilization.
There we go. I love it.
And why you should just let yourself go bald. Because it's about what's inside.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just work out. Get some man titties. Get some man titties.
Justin, we love you, brother. We'll see you again next Friday, hopefully.
We do.
Have a great weekend.
Yes.
All right. So
Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy birthday.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy birthday. Steffi P for Liberty. Stephanie, you're beautiful.
Thank you.
That was a great show, man. A lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah.
You know, we really have a lot of experience to share.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that in my life I finally can say I have experience at things. You know, it's like I have a child. I've worked at different jobs and businesses, and I just have a lot of advice that I can share with people now.
Stephanie, you're a beautiful person. I love you. It's your birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We're going to go do something special and fun with our beautiful daughter. Before we go, we'd like to ask our listeners to join us at forlibertyshop.com. If you're coming to Washington, D.C. with us, you got to get the buy one, get one tickets by tomorrow night latest, okay? So if you want to join me and Stephanie and you want the buy one, get one deal, you'll still be able to buy tickets, but you'll save a lot of money if you get them before tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah.
So buy those today if you plan on joining us in Washington, D.C. Get all the details at forlibertyshop.com. And, of course, visit our very popular Gulf of America collection. I'm adding new products in there every day. Drink our delicious tea because we don't use the money to pay for abortions. We spend it on more liberty. We'll see you guys here on Monday on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Be free.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise compromise your principles for a cup of coffee. Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.